Mic check. Oh yeah, I see green. There it is. All right, I'm gonna hit the intro. Bam. There it goes. Hey Ben, good to see you, buddy.
Hey, people were asking me how they write in. Do they have to be on Twitch to write in?
Nah, we should see them wherever they are. Going live to all kinds of stuff right now. All right, here we go.
Who can,
Drum roll, please.
can all of them talk to us?
They should be able to. Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to the show. It looks like my mic might be a little hot. It's all right. Welcome to the show. I'm Nathan Moore. This is Steve Moore. This is Kyle Hogg. And you are now watching Jawn. Wherever you are, I've gone live now to 3 different Facebook pages. My personal one, Hippie Fiasco, and Nathan's Land. We're live on Hippie Fiasco TV on YouTube, and the most exciting channel we're live on is my new Twitch channel, Nathan's Land, on Twitch. And that's the most important channel in my life at the moment.
All my Twitchers
I hope
are
you're
right there.
I hope you're sending them over to.
Yeah, I've told all of them to get on over there.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to cut our volume down just a little bit. We should be able to see you wherever you're watching. See your chats and respond to them.
We can't see. Nathan
I
can
can't,
see.
right.
Nathan on his phone. But we can't. Kyle and I can't see.
Oh, we got Daryl Hayden out there.
Hey,
Yeah.
Hey, Daryl. How are you?
So our producer is apparently hunkering down in a bunker in Alabama right now because of a tornado warning. But I think she's fine. She's safe, and I think that threat has passed. I thought we had like applause for a second.
sounds like
What
what
was
was that?
I don't know. You heard that too?
I heard something.
Daryl, was that you?
How'd you do that? Daryl's magic. He is, isn't he?
Yeah, Daryl is mad.
He's got tricks up his sleeve. I know he does. Wait a second.
There's something going on over there.
What is that?
That's me.
Oh, is that a tornado warning?
No.
It could be the Twitch stuff. There's like little ways that people can interact with the show on Twitch, but I don't really know what's going on right now. It's a haunted. This is the haunted show. We are a special guest is the ghost. Hey, I'm here. I'm happy to fill in for the producer role. I just want y'all to know that I got this. Everything's cool. We're in good hands. All right, back to the show. That was my little. You couldn't see it from here, but I put a little cartoon while I did that on top of the screen.
Did you hear the bells ringing?
I heard the bells ringing. I don't know why we hear that so clearly, because it should just be coming from the laptop. But I guess that's action on my Twitch channel. There's ways, like if you hit little buttons and you can put little stickers on the thing. Follow, and you'll see the numbers click up on the bottom of the screen. These guys can't see it from here, but I can see it from here.
As you can tell, we're all tripping tonight, hearing sounds and stuff that nobody else hears. I'm gonna curl up in a ball and start crying in just a little bit.
Welcome to the haunted show. It was a night just like tonight.
I want my producer.
Yeah, right? We're desperately missing our producer. But you guys out there watching can help us fill in the empty space here, and let us know if you can hear everybody okay and see everything, and we'll get through this together. Hey, Dana, Josepha, Daryl, Ben, welcome to the show. So what's going on, guys?
Not much happening over here.
No?
Real slow. Real slow. Yep.
Well, I've been thinking about you too because I'm reading a book now about it's an interview, like a 300-page book interview with Nick Cave I don't know if y'all know who that is, a musician
Oh, yeah.
who lost his son a couple of years ago. And the book is about, you would not think he was a very religious person, but he's very religious, and about how sorrow and grief have made his wanting, to him, religion is not the belief in God, but the wanting to believe it's true. And I remember a couple of weeks ago we were talking about religion, and I was thinking how that sort of tied into sort of the mystery of religion is not being all the proof of it. You know, like your wife is the most beautiful woman in the world. Your football team is the best football team in the world. There's no proof of it, but that's something you really believe in. And it's just the book. You know, I read 2 chapters and I burst into tears reading some sweet thing.
Really?
That is nice. I mean, that is sort of like the crux of faith, right? That's what faith is. Faith in something you know for sure isn't faith at all.
Right.
And the point that a lot of people are trying to share or whatever is that faith is a very powerful thing.
That's what he's saying, that he's worried that the day's youth don't have faith in everything. They just see the bad and everything. You know, they know too much about everything, so there's no faith anymore. And it's about that. It's about how grief can teach you. He sort of thought, you know, he hangs out with a lot of, you know, weirdos and, you know, talented people, and just didn't really pay attention to normal people. And he said the grief teaches you that each individual person, you see that they're all special in some way. He's really seen a different view of life after his son passed, and
His heart just got ripped open.
yeah. And he said, but by doing that, it ripped open and destroyed. But then when it came back together, it took in every little piece of goodness it could find. So he saw goodness in just, you know, the butcher and the baker and the normal people. You know.
Right. That's beautiful.
Yeah. But I remember you were talking about you were raised, you know, very religious, and the belief is strong and stuff. And I've never really thought of it before, that the belief is not a surety that there's a God or whatever. It's just the beauty of it is just to have the belief, the faith, like you said.
Yeah, can you believe it into existence?
Right.
You know, if enough people believe, does it actually come about?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There's that possibility too, that we create, you know, God in our ability to perceive beyond.
Right.
If we can do that, you know, it's real easy these days with just to give up on that type of thinking,
Right.
that type of belief system, and I think that's part of probably what he's talking about.
Right.
It's you know, I think there's obviously a lot of problems with hanging out with an Old Testament Bible word of a vengeful God from 3,000 years ago that you know, he wasn't even American. You know, he wasn't even. I don't even think he was a white guy, but I don't know. But I'm just kidding, people. But you know, it's. But to see what is beyond that, you know, what beyond those little things into the profound, I think is still happening, still can happen.
Well,
Yeah, lots of different levels.
like I mentioned in episode 4, everyone, we discussed it. He was like, you know, he was talking about how the Old Testament was very much, it was more like a fear tactic. Like, you know, we're going to make you believe, and if you don't.
Yeah.
Then he said the New Testament is more of a general opening of the spirit and the heart and acceptance. And
Yeah, when I was a young Christian in the Baptist church, I wanted somebody to stand up and say, Jesus was bringing a new God. This old God wasn't really what Jesus was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I saw when I heard and read the Gospels. He was bringing a new word. And it just seemed like people use the Old Testament when it's convenient, when it has something that they want to use it for, then they use it. But then, some of the things in there are terrible, violent and unforgiving, and
That tension is so intense between the religion that's used by people to judge other people, to control other people, to lift themselves, and then the religion that's there to set you free, to connect you with all things, to put love in your
Right.
heart. And I mean, there's the tension between faith and science. Like there's like it's such a tumultuous thing. And I remember as a child too, just feeling like, wow, none of these people believe in Jesus. Like they're like, what are they? What is this? Like, why are they? These people are some of the most judgmental, fearful people
Right.
that you'll ever meet in your life. But they're worshiping this like radical, revolutionary hippie. It's like I don't understand what is happening here. I just couldn't process it. But at the same time, I can deeply relate to the point that you started with, that where Nick's coming from, the
Right.
power of faith and the importance of Jesus's message. Gosh, if can you imagine how much worse that whole thing would have been without the Jesus influence on the situation? If it was just an Old Testament, I mean, it's a fascinating thing. But I also was thinking when you first started talking, just how for for the last week, I don't know why I keep thinking about it, but like recorded history is like what, 6,000 years, maybe 6,000 years of recorded history, but human history is millions of years.
Yeah.
well, you can go back. It depends on where you want to cut off say, I'm drawing the line there. I'm not at that.
Right.
Yeah, as long as it's got a tail on it, I'm not one of them. But yeah, I don't know when all of a sudden we're the difference between a advanced primate and a human being. I don't know.
Right.
But we weren't writing and talking about it.
Right.
There wasn't any history being handed down. There was just survival.
You definitely but you definitely can't underestimate the role of mythology and stuff as we became consciousness out of the animal kingdom, self-aware,
Oh yeah.
cultural consciousness.
Well,
I mean, the first concept of God is almost like the birth of mankind, or something like this. The ability to imagine such a thing is like a whole part of who we are. What separates us from everything else. To need that kind of meaning, to need that kind of imagination, that kind of explanation for. I mean, it's just so human and powerful.
doesn't it go back to the development of the brain at some point?
It must.
Yeah, because that's the part that gets you in trouble when you start worrying about why we're here and dying and everything. What's the meaning of life? That comes out of your evolving brain at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm not sure is always a good thing. I've never seen an unhappy robin, but I've seen a lot of unhappy people.
Right. Oh, it's quite a burden as well as a blessing.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. We can laugh and we can cry. And then just the tension between, for most of those millions of years, we didn't have explanations for why it rained, why it thundered,
Right.
and the idea that, we're being punished or we're being blessed by these unseen forces. And so for millions and millions of years, we operated under that kind of stuff, and we were trying to appease the gods or
Right.
please them to survive. That was part of our survival as imaginations. We had to keep the gods happy. And then slowly but surely, over thousands and thousands and thousands of years, science came along and started explaining everything. Like, no, actually, this is how this works. That's how this. Oh no, we're not the center. We're actually going around the sun. It was, and every step of the way, science was very threatening to the way, the frameworks we were using to understand how the universe worked.
Right.
And all the way up, and it's just been escalating in speed and stuff, and now we're at this interesting point where it almost seems like we have a scientific explanation for everything, and now we have this like cultural crisis of faith because we don't need it anymore,
Well,
but we need it.
Well, that was one of the things that Nick Cave said in the book. The interviewer asked him, well, the belief in God and faith, really doesn't tie in with science and logic. And Nick said, I don't think faith has anything to do with logic. I've never heard anybody say faith is based on logic. Faith is something you believe in, whether, it's not a proven fact. You're just, it's not science related at all, really. So you can, that you can know all this stuff and believe all the facts, but you can still have a religious background and belief because the science and the facts don't really contradict what you're believing.
So what would you say your faith is?
Well, I've been pretty non-involved, but after reading this book, it's like really hitting me. Like he said, a belief, a religious, there's no, and of course, anytime you get talking religion today, somebody's like, oh, the church, and it's like, if we're not talking about church controlling people and all that stuff, but just a personal religious belief. He said that he can't think of any, there's no reason not to have it. It's like no one's ever been harmed, believing in a pure goodness, be kind to people. So why wouldn't you believe it? That's what he doesn't understand, why people don't want to have more faith and stuff. But then, like the interviewer was saying, well, the church has done this, and Jim Jones and all these weirdos. But he's like, that's something entirely different, which would always gets brought up, though. So it's sort of the bad overrides the good points.
Were you sort of reading the book and going, "Oh, I do have faith," or were you reading the book going, like, are you acquiring faith through reading it, or just realizing you already have it?
Well, when I picked it up, and I had no idea what the book was about. I just got it and started reading it. The first couple of chapters are about his son dying and stuff, and how that brought him into. It was more in this emotional talk in the first couple of chapters, and now he's just getting really into discussing, like as a child, like you were saying, like the New Testament, because he's like a really good writer, and he said the New Testament was just written. It's like, there's nothing written like it. It's just powerful. Even like today when you read it, you're like, oh, it's like giants walking the earth, and you're like, no mortal wrote this thing, It's like, he said it's beautifully written, the power of it, and to last all this time, and to, just have the power to change people. So he sees, and that was one of his things too, like even, let's just say God doesn't exist, to believe in it and to believe all this stuff to get you to do good stuff. If God exists or not, if it's getting you to do something good, it doesn't really matter. If you pass away and you just lay on the ground and deteriorate, you didn't waste it. You didn't do anything wrong by having this belief.
Right.
And so he said, like, faith is not really is not based on a reward at the end. You just, you believe it, and your reward is that when you get ready to pass away, to your last second, you think, I'm going to, be rewarded.
Mm-hmm.
But he was mentioning too, like, how people say, my wife's the most beautiful woman in the world. And if you really sit down and think about it, she's probably not. But in your heart and your belief, that's. See,
that seems different to me.
Well, he said it's just like, that's just your heart and everything just sees it as, I mean, it is a little bit different, because you probably don't think your wife's the most beautiful person in the world, but when you're with her and you're looking at her, you're like, oh my God, you're the most beautiful woman in the world.
Well, what does that have to do with faith?
He was just saying it's when you just believe, if that's what you believe, it's just you're dedicated to that, your belief, like, oh my God, if I could be with any person in the world, I would just want to be with you. Or like people that are in these football teams, that just, I'll die for my football team or whatever, they're just, why is that team better than another team? Well, that's just my team, that's your faith. Of course, that's nothing like believing in, religion, but it's just,
It's interesting.
yeah.
What do you think you have faith in?
It's hard to put into words. It's hard to think of something I can just jump out and say.
Now, do you believe there's more goodness in the world than there is meanness? And he said he realized after his son died how much more goodness there is in the world than he thought before.
Well, I definitely, you could see it as a battle that's constantly going on. It happens in every, you know, every culture you see. You know, the gun thing's a good example.
Right.
It's really easy to end a discussion with a gun.
Right.
And it's a lot harder to come together and build something in people that disagree. And so the challenge is, to me, to try to be good. And I see it as a constant battle going on
Right.
across, in every context. You see that happening. People using good to do evil, and people, there's just all kinds of games being played.
Right.
And I do believe that over a period of time, it was like interesting if James Cook, when he went to the different islands in the South Pacific, fascinating story of him, by the way, about how he was doing that.
And who was that
Because
again?
he was the one that explored most of the South Pacific for England. But the interesting thing about him was he was a Mormon. No, he wasn't. He was a Quaker. And he had a Quaker attitude about him that's very Christ-like. And he was interested in looking at each of these cultures and studying them, whereas somebody else would just come in with their guns and
Right.
take over. And that happened a lot most of the time. But he was different. Some might say it ended up getting him killed at one of the islands later on, but he had a lot
didn't
of...
the Hawaiians kill him? Wasn't it in Hawaii? they
Yeah, I
killed
think
him?
it was. I think that's where he ended up. But the third trip, though, think of what he was doing, going to an island and showing up. And you go to one island, this is where I was going. You go to one island like Tahiti, and it was free love. It was San Francisco in 1968. It was a hippie world. And then you go to the next one, and they were all cannibals. And they were terribly violent. And so that's playing out, and you can see that, but it plays out every day in our cultures as we go to war. We just have to stop shooting people, and we have to stop killing people so easily. And there's definitely, we're in the middle of that war right now for guns. And I'm not against guns. I think they have a purpose to shoot the bad guys. And I decide who the bad guys are. So I'm no better than anybody else. No, it's true though, but I'm not, I don't want to say I'm against guns, because that's just too childish.
Right.
There's a place for guns. And but we don't need assault rifles in Walmart.
Right. Right.
And we need to figure out what's going on with people that are mentally ill. That needs to be really addressed, not just in some half-assed way. We need to figure out, what about our culture? Is it all this advertising and gambling? And a lot of these things that they're selling on TV have nothing to do with faith
Right.
Right.
or anything
Love
else.
or
It's
Jesus-
all about
Jesus
making.
consciousness.
It's all about
It's
making
power
money,
now. Yeah.
and that's not a good culture to develop. So we're making a lot of mistakes, I think, and that's yeah. I don't even know where we started with that, but
Well,
that's,
one of the things he said that just tore me up when I was reading it, he was talking about, he's a world famous person, his son passes away, and just outpouring of love and support from everybody, it's just, you can't, he just couldn't believe it. But he said he went to the corner store where they go, he used to go all the time, but he was, depressed and go there for a couple of months. He went in and the lady behind the counter took his order, didn't say anything to him, just act like normal. When she gave him his change, just grabbed his hand and held it. And he said that was the most beautiful, nicest thing, that she didn't say a word to him, but he just knew by that hand hold.
yeah.
That meant, he said that meant the world
Yeah.
to him.
Well, I certainly believe in the power of good, and I do believe it can conquer the power of bad
Right.
over a period of time. And
That's sort of where my mind went to when I thought about my faith,
Yeah.
what I had faith in.
yeah, I definitely have that a good feeling about that, and that's just because I've met too many good people along this road.
You've seen the power of it.
I've seen it work. Yeah. And I just think most of us are just trying to get through. We just want to be taken into account and acknowledged for what we're trying to do and live our life.
And get better ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
There's always that. All these struggles are also internal struggles between our shadows and our the line between good and evil is drawn through each human heart as well.
Definitely. Definitely.
Let's check in with the chat real quick here. Hey, Stretch Barrington, good to see you too. He said, just read today, our brains, our bodies, and our society have been evolving together to shape human development for millennia. What's a millennia?
A long time.
Long term.
Damn long time.
Within the last 20 years, the advent of portable technology and social media platforms is changing what took 60,000 years to evolve. It sort of harkens back to what we were talking about earlier. J-Dodd, hey, welcome to the show. J-Dodd says, my mom has faith in God that has baffled me. It's childlike. It's almost hard to talk to her about it because it's so irrational, but I love her for it. Any faith I have, I got from her. God, I can relate to that so much.
Me too.
It's so powerful and frustrating. You're just like, oh my God. But then on the other hand, I'm so jealous.
Well, that's something else that was in the book. He was talking about how people that just, they're just like sort of jealous of people that really have this faith. They don't understand it. They don't see how you can have that faith, but they're sort of like, man, I wish I believed in something that much.
Right. It's very fascinating. Yeah, your parents were like that. Granddad would read the Bible every day.
Yep. They had a full belief system in effect, and they lived it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very admirable, any way you looked at it. Basically, they went about doing good in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It was up to me to add a little bit of the color.
but it's also, I mean, an intelligent, a person that has full belief, they also have questions. It's not like you just shut your brain off and you just.
Well, and see, that's where a young person like me, when you got to a certain age, you'd start to question them.
Right.
Because they weren't questioning.
Right.
And maybe they had questioned and solved it, but I never saw that. All I saw was the total acceptance.
Right.
And I'm saying, well, you go through that stage when you're between 15 and 75 that you have questions that can't be answered
Right.
too easily. But They didn't have those. Didn't seem to have those questions.
Right.
They just read it, accepted it, and did it. Something to be said for that.
There's something to be said for that. But yeah.
Now, have you read the Bible all the way through?
Well, I'd never know.
Sat down.
Well, it
and read
doesn't have a plot like that.
Right.
I mean, each book is different, so
Right.
I might read a book all the way through, but
Right.
the next one he's writing to somebody else and
Right.
talking about different stuff.
Right.
So, no, I never just sat down and read it just to say I did it, but and I haven't read the Bible as much as I should. I think we all hear certain verses over a lot of times, but I'd read enough of the Old Testament to know I didn't want to read it.
Now, if you could be on like a desert, like a desert, if you could be on a desert island, you could have the Bible with you, or the complete Shakespeare output. What would you prefer?
Rough choice.
I'd rather have Larry McMurtry's novel. I didn't like Shakespeare. He talked funny. Not his fault. He grew up in a weird place, or an island over there near Europe, and they talk funny over there.
They sure do.
And he used words that I don't use in the way that he did them, and of course the Bible is just translated from Hebrew, and I really don't know a lot of Hebrew. I don't know about you.
Now, I haven't read much Shakespeare, but do you think his writing was influenced by the Bible?
I'm sure it was.
Because isn't he like the moral and knew all the?
Yeah, I think he had read enough of the Bible to use it in his plotting.
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing how many sayings and isms that we have today that are all come from Shakespeare. I bet there's a good little list online of just little.
Oh my goodness.
His effect on our language,
Right.
and is just, there's a lot of conspiracy theories that there's no way one man
wrote
did
it all,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was watching something on YouTube a couple days ago, and they were talking about school during Shakespeare's time. And they're like, school was a lot different back then. It was a lot easier because those kids didn't have to read Shakespeare. I
Right.
did get caught up in that little, not a controversy. What do they call it? Conspiracy theories. I was into that for a while. That Shakespeare could not have written all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did they have like a team that wrote it, and he like sort of compiled it and knocked it into shape, or was there just different people writing different things? And
We definitely have some local experts here we could bring in for a
how old did he live to be?
conversation on that. No idea.
I know. I forgot about that.
We got the Blackfriars.
Yeah.
Right here in Stanton, we have a recreation of the theater where Shakespeare originally performed his plays, and it's called the Blackfriars Playhouse, and it's a whole reconstruction of the original theater, something like that.
Yep.
And a year-round troupe that performs the works of Shakespeare right here in Stanton, Virginia. We're pretty interesting cultural hub we have here, from Heifetz to Shakespeare. And I wonder what about Stanton has.
It's weird, just from like just from the writing and stuff I do. I meet people, through the mail and email and stuff, and so many people said, "Oh, I know where Stanton is. We came to the Shakespeare." But it's.
Yeah, you know what else was going to add to that? A new one this year, the train.
Oh, that's right.
How's that?
It's become a real thing to do.
The train trip.
Oh.
You haven't heard about that?
People are going to come here to ride the train, which is weird to me. But it costs a couple $100 to ride the train to Swope, where I live, and come around and come back. What the hell? Yeah.
Maybe we should do a special episode where we
We're
go
on the train.
where we go for a little train.
I
ride.
haven't heard anything but good stuff.
Oh, sure.
Everybody
I'm
likes
sure.
it. Everybody had a great time.
And it's sold out for like 6 months in advance.
I know, that's what I was saying. But so you got to add that to Shakespeare.
And they're building a new track down there so the train can pull off.
Right.
And
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, they're
Yeah.
doing all kinds of stuff.
They might
down
put
there.
a
It'd be
bit.
wonderful to see that resurrected even more, because I was down there walking not that long ago, and I don't know, it's a little dilapidated at the same time. The train station area, it
Yeah.
has so much potential.
They could do a lot better.
That empty Pullman there and everything, it'd be wonderful to see.
Did you go up on that? That's a
actual-
beautiful view of Stanton when you go up on that track. The little walkover.
Yeah,
there.
that is cool. What is that hill called? Is that Sears Hill?
Sears Hill. Yeah. Have you been, you and Kethra have been looking at any more of the houses in the book?
I haven't not so much in the last week. I got a bad cold for a little while. Then we had the Super Bowl party that we hosted, which was fun but ultimately frustrating. And
In terms of the game?
yeah,
Yeah, it was sad for Joe.
it was sad for Joe, and we just wanted Joe to be happy.
Yeah, me too. But you can't say something like that, say it was a good game, they played well, but
Hmm.
Yeah.
that doesn't work. You got to win
Yeah, yeah,
on something like that.
yeah.
But yeah, I was sorry I couldn't make it. I would like to have been there with you until the end when they lost.
And you're like, glad I'm not with anybody right now.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
nothing good to be said about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was frustrating.
but I like Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
I always like Mahomes, and
And-
I
and
like
again,
I
he
like
was-
their coach.
Yeah.
He's-
Wilford Brimley,
Yeah,
young Wilford Brimley.
yeah,
It's pretty-
he's great. Got some creativity, and he's got a little bit of a wild hair about him,
Mhm.
which you don't expect to see. I love it. But yeah,
Did you watch the game?
I did off and on. Yeah.
Off and on. Yeah.
It's
Keep your
weird.
thumb on the pulse.
It's so weird. I can't believe I'm gonna tell you all this. 'Cause I've never told anybody else. But ever since when I got divorced, the divorce was totally unexpected. My wife I was out in the front room watching TV, and my wife was in the kitchen. She said, "Can you come back in here?" Oh, yeah. She's like, "I'm leaving you." I said, "What the fuck do you want?" I thought she was kidding around. She goes, "I'm leaving." And I was like, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, I'm leaving." So took off, and ever since then, I could not watch any final sports event because to know how that feels when that's the end, I just feel so sorry for those guys when they don't win. I haven't watched an NCAA basketball championship, a Super Bowl. It just hits my heart like that's all they wanted to do was win that. And you just go home. You're like, didn't work out, but you just never forget it. It's just
wow,
That's powerful. That's powerful.
yeah,
like I can watch all the season because you have
'Cause there's
the
still
next
hope.
game. Yeah, next game. Then you get to the end. This is the one where we do it. You lose. Go away. Nobody cares about you anymore. So hopefully someday I'll get over that and be able to watch a game and dance and somebody spit on me. You lost, you loser. Ah!
Oh, I hear you. It's powerful.
it's just interesting how we carry things like that with us for a long time. We associate it and have trouble not associating it.
Well, I didn't even know it for a couple of years. My brother's like, when UNC, that's like our favorite team, was in the championship, I was like, I can't watch it. He's like, why? I said, just that to know what those guys, I don't know what they're going through, but the loss that I felt when I got divorced, and then to figure like that's probably like how they feel too at that moment. I was like, oh,
So
man,
is
that's
it a
too-
big? It has to be a big game, and
It's
not just a
the
regular.
the
It's
final
the
game.
final game.
The final ones. Okay.
If it's middle of the season, I'll just God, I hate that team. You just keep going because the next week you're back out again. fighting
Okay, I
again.
got you.
But when it comes
Right.
down, when you've reached the mountaintop and then you just slide back down, like, oh man, the
Gotcha.
hurt is like nobody should have to go through that hurt.
How long ago was that?
I got divorced December of 2018.
Just yesterday.
It seems like a long time ago.
It does.
And the weird thing is, I don't really think about her. It's like I don't. It's not like I miss her. I'm not like I don't. I'm used to it now. It's just just that the feeling that I had when it first happened. I just associate with these players. You know, it's just like, it's like. I mean, it's hard to explain. I can't explain it. It's just that thing where you don't have any more chances. There's no more timeouts. The time ran out. It's just no matter how much you want, I'll play 2 more days. Let's just keep going. It's like, no, dude, it's over. Go home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just get your paycheck, go home, and start again next year.
Well, there's that. At least they can start again next year, which they definitely will.
Yeah, you invite a whole new group to training camp.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the thing too with that Nick Cave book. He's like how grief just opens up. Like I was in New Jersey, I moved back here, met you guys again, met so many new friends. It opens up things you never would have had without that grief. So it's not. I can't really say I would not say I'm sorry I got divorced. But back then I would. But at this point I'm like it's just it's something in the past and I've sort of moved on. But it opens up so much new avenues and stuff.
Especially if you keep the faith.
That's right.
if you have faith, I mean that's a big difference between somebody that has, and it's not even faith in something, but just faith that there's an opportunity here that things can get better.
Right.
That as opposed to just like, all right, well, my happiness is done. There's this. Optimism is faith.
Oh yeah, I've always tried to see the good. I mean, I don't even try to see the good in people. Something will happen, I'll be like, well, at least we did this. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? This just happened. I know, but at least we got to do that. They're like, are you crazy? This, people are always like, how do you even see any goodness in this?
I've always been really good at that too. Seeing every little lemon as a chance for lemonade is part of my spirit.
It helps to be like that if you're a teacher.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have to teach to the 1 or 2 sometimes, and not worry about the 7 that don't give a shit.
Right.
You have to see the good.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Focus on it.
And go there. Don't let the other bring you down.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun when I started at the new job. Whenever I leave work, I always tell everybody, good luck. And they're like, what do we need good luck for? I'm like, you never know. You need good luck. You don't know what's going to happen to you when you leave here. Good luck,
Yeah, luck is nice to have occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as opposed to the opposite.
No, what is that? They use that in football all the time. It's better to be lucky than talented. Like the batted ball that comes up and you catch the interception or whatever. It's better to be lucky than to be talented.
Well, it's I think there's a saying that luck favors the prepared.
Mm.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
That's
a great quote.
Something like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But there's still an element to that in all those things, but you definitely can overcome bad luck too, with talent and
faith.
So how do you, in terms of this conversation, faith and optimism and stuff like that, like, how would you apply that to how your health? I don't know how to broach that subject, but I feel like.
Well, you're talking about me personally?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's very possible that my liver is not going to be functioning for much longer, and I'm going to die. So when you ask that question, you're also asking me about death. And that's something I'm giving a whole lot of thought to right now. I've always thought I was going to get better, but I'm not so sure at this point that I'm going to get better, and that's okay. I'm pretty well prepared, I think, for that, in terms of where I am and how I've left things, and
Why do you think that?
why do I think what?
That you might not get better? Are the doctors saying that, or just how it feels? in your
Yeah,
body?
yeah, it's pointed out more than once lately that I'm stage 4 in my liver and in my kidneys, and stage 5 is drawing the curtain. So I don't have any stages left. So I think I have to look at it that way. And I don't seem to be getting better. I seem to have a condition right now. And 2 weeks from now, I might be sitting in here ready to play tennis. And but right now, that's not where my head is right now. Not where I feel like my body is. And I'm sitting home alone thinking about it all the time. So I'm prepared. I have faith, but I can't describe what that faith is. But I got something from my mom and dad that you ought to live a good life. You ought to be good to people. And that was real simple stuff. And I've tried to do that pretty much all the way through. And it's left me in a pretty good place right now. What are we? This is very depressing.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Well, I didn't want to go there with it, but that's just where I am right now. Again,
I mean, seeing as that's where you are right now, it'd be sort of weird to just try to talk about something else on some level.
yeah, and we're very good. Human beings are very good at being weird and not talking about the important things.
Right.
But
Now, do you think a good outlook, a positive outlook and faith can help you?
oh, definitely, it keeps you from giving up. I'm gonna come out and play. One thing Moors do, we play the game all the way through.
Right.
We don't ever quit. We can get beat, but we ain't quitting.
Right.
And that comes from believing it's all part of the same thing. So I understand this might be a test, and I might be fine in 6 months. I might decide to climb a mountain. Who knows? But I also understand the reality of what I'm doing with my life and where I am. And, it's an interesting time for me. But I'm finding I can do less and less, it seems, every day. And, I talk about things mentally. I have friends that have had strokes. I have friends that have Parkinson's. I have friends that have had dementia. I have friends that have been through everything, and we all lose it a little bit at a time, or we don't. We just die. But I can see things that I could do a year ago that I can't do anymore, and there's a whole list of them. Some of them are kind of sad to give up. Others are liberating to give up. And it feels good not to have to worry about them anymore. But, it's almost like I've played the game and now we're talking in the locker room about how things went. You know, it's like I'm almost through playing. It's almost time to get a shower and go get laid.
But like what you just said makes perfect sense. But what do you think? All right, let's say that what you just said, you've played the game, you know, you're in the locker room. But from the way that I know you, not that I know you really well, but I think that your game is over, but you're looking at the rookies. You're like, this game still goes on. This is a great game. We're going on. How do some people have that, and some people just see, is it like the game's over, or not even like they're not even close to? I mean, they might just have I didn't get the job I wanted. The world has collapsed on them. You know, they don't even want to get out of bed the next day. What controls that?
I think I can address that, and it goes back to it's almost time for a song. But in one of your songs, the one I like, but I'm hardly here. But you say in there the answer to his question. You said, "I'm hardly here. It's not about me.
Right.
It's
Right.
not about me."
Right.
And there you go. That's what I love about that song. Is that it's not all about me. It's those grandchildren and Daniel and Joe and you and you. And all that's going good. All that's going good. So put that up on the screen. Let's replay that, and we don't have to replay the fact that I dropped that pass in the fourth quarter. Damn, I could have had that ball. I could have.
Well, I mean, I feel that. I mean, I think I have that outlook too. I feel very fortunate because I have friends that something goes wrong, they're out for a week. They can't. I hope I can be like you. Like the game's over. I've done my part. Let's take a shower, and then I'll, hire me as the defensive coach or something. I can't play anymore, but I want to be part of the game and keep, like, you all should go out there and shine.
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah.
It's a very good analogy too. After I quit playing, I coached and I umpired, which is a gift that a lot of people don't realize. I was giving back to that game I loved, even then. And coaching is exactly what you're talking about, staying in the game as long as you can and helping people while you're doing it.
Right. Yeah, I think we've all, if I think we're all the same, I think we've all been blessed to have that optimistic,
I think so. I think it's time for you to sing us that song.
Which one?
I'm hardly here.
All right. Will you hand me that guitar right there?
Or anyone you want to do, man. It's your guitar.
God, I'm scared to even touch this stuff.
No.
That guitar.
My only hesitation on that is I think we might have done it before on the show.
Well, that would be 5 people that would have to
Right.
hear it again. And you know what I say? Fuck them. You can't take a joke.
If you can't hear a song twice, fuck them.
Whatever they need it more than I do. Whatever they need. Oh wait. Whatever they need it more than I do. Whatever they need. It's not always about you. Whatever they need. They can take it from me if they want to, whatever they need. I'm hardly here. I'm hardly here. I'm hardly hardly here. I'm hardly here. It's hard to speak. I'm not stuck in I am traffic. It's hard to speak. Give me a minute. It's hard to speak. And it's killing the planet. It's hard to speak. I'm hardly here. I'm hardly here. I'm hardly here. I'm hardly here. Baby, till I get back home and things can be the way we want. And everyone in that weird world can just move along. Move along, there's nothing to see here. Move along, there's nothing to see here. Move along, there's nothing to see here. Whatever they need it more than I do. Whatever they need, it's not always about you. Whatever they need, they can take it from me if they want to. Whatever they need, I'm hardly here. 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 I'm hardly here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Actually, thank you. You're very welcome. I didn't remember it as well as I thought I would. I was missing a couple of chords there. I was like, oh, it feels like it's been a long time since I played this one. Dana says, I love you, Steve. You're still here. I love the three of you for sharing yourselves with us.
Oh, that's nice.
Love you too.
Yeah.
Here's one I thought we could do, bust out real quick.
Here we go.
I'm gonna get a copyright strike because
Where did you have this kid
what the
the whole
hell?
time?
I got this from your timeline. When the rain is blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case,
Oh, wow.
I could offer you a warm embrace. Let's hear you, Kyle. To make you feel my love. And evening shadows and the stars appear, and there's no one there to dry your tears. I could hold you
They're
for
gonna
a
cry.
million years
Your
to
turn.
make you feel my love.
Damn, Nathan.
I know you haven't made your mind up yet, but I would never do you wrong. I've known it from the moment that we met. No doubt in my mind where you belong. I'd go hungry, I'd go black and blue. I'd go crawling down the avenue. There is nothing that I wouldn't do to make you feel my love. The storms are raging on the rolling sea and on the highway of regret. The winds of change are blowing wild and free. You ain't seen nothing like me yet. I could make you happy, make your dreams come true. There's nothing that I wouldn't do. Go to the ends of the earth for you to make you feel my love. To make you feel my love.
Beautiful. Now, who wrote that?
It's a Dylan song, but he shared
That's right, that's
the
right.
Adele version on his Facebook page.
I saw that. Yeah.
And very sweet when you were singing it, my mom sent me a text.
Oh, really? Of love?
I don't know what she wants.
Actually, could you put
Stop
that back?
playing all that annoying Dylan on the air.
I love it. I forgot that was Dylan.
Supposedly, like 450 different people have done a cover of that song, recorded versions of that song.
Whoa.
Well, maybe they won't notice yours.
Yeah, you did a beautiful version.
And maybe YouTube won't copyright strike me.
Man, you are so talented.
No. Lucky.
I dedicated that song to a young lady named Margie McShane, so that's who I was thinking of when I posted that on there.
Does she watch it? Is she watching?
She does sometimes. I'm not sure if she's watching tonight. She texts me every week. How's Mr. Moore doing? How's Mr. Moore doing?
Do I know her?
She was the one that we had the cookout when you came down with the kids.
Yeah, she had two little girls.
Mm-hmm. Oh, a little boy and a little girl.
Little boy
They
and
look
little-
like little girls. Got real long hair. Yeah.
Yeah, she was sweet.
Just want to say to the show, hopefully that these lapel mics aren't great for music. It's real easy to overload them, and so hopefully y'all got the not the message, the feeling, even if it wasn't a great sonic experience. I hope you felt our hearts.
I'm sure it didn't sound that over the top. It sounded like you're...
God. Now, what do you?
All good.
What do you think when you sing? What do you think you sound like as a singer? Do you know how good you sound, or what do you think?
That just depends, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, you must have enough confidence that you started singing, so you must know that you have talent. But do you know like the emotion that
I
you
didn't
carry
really
and
have
stuff?
talent though. I had
Balls.
Faith.
ambition.
Faith.
Yeah.
Faith and balls. You put them two together, you got something to work with, son.
It's true. It's true. But I think it was Pete Rose. Is that the guy you used to tell me about? That he didn't necessarily have the talent, but he had the determination. He just worked twice as hard as everybody. If he was half as talented, he worked twice as hard. And I definitely did not have natural musical talent, but by golly, I wasn't going to let that stop me.
I've always respected that so much because it's the way I saw it too. I mean, some people are 4 years old and play the piano. You had to learn everything the hard way, like really learn it. It didn't just come.
Now, when you first started singing, would you like? I mean, I think most people when they first start singing, they sing like they hear a song. You try to sing it like Neil Diamond or Neil Young or Kiss, whatever. When did you become confident enough that you started using like your own?
Probably-
When did you stop imitating Bob Dylan?
And well, after I stopped imitating Bob Dylan, I had to imitate Tom Waits for a few years. I can't even listen to old recordings and just like, oh my God, it's just embarrassing. Probably around 26 is when I started to sound like myself. I started to.
Now, did that have anything to do with more confidence in your own songs? That was your voice saying it, or that didn't have anything to do with it?
Yeah, I'm not. Maybe because it's about the same age. I would say like I started writing songs that I would still share with somebody today. But that's like over 10 years of songs I would not want you to hear. But the funny thing was, I mean, on the other hand, I'm sort of not being completely honest because I thought I had something, even even when I didn't.
I think your voice is amazing.
But it wasn't necessarily talent. I don't know what I thought I had. But it wasn't that I thought I had talent. I thought I had a purpose. I thought it was what I was supposed to do.
That's powerful. It worked too.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Eventually.
it's sort of funny when you say that because like that video I was telling you about they were watching today. You can go into any bar and see people sitting there drinking. It was your voice singing that made the whole thing. It wasn't like you just walked in like this looks like it was like your voice brought all those people into like a. You just want to be part of that space because of the way you were singing. I mean, you might have walked in there without you singing and like, oh, this is a cool place, a lot of locals, let's get out of here. But when you were singing, you're like, oh, we don't know these people, but let's get a beer and sit down and take a part in this. You got a voice that like sort of brings everybody in.
I love that.
When you started singing that song, I was like, what's he gonna do? I was like, the second line, I was like, oh my God, that's so beautiful.
It's a beautiful song.
I was wondering where you got the paper from. I was like, I didn't see with any paper over there.
I printed that up right before y'all got here.
I thought it was another part of you. I thought you were ready to do a magic act. You're going to bring papers out from everywhere. I got another one for you. Wow, number 11 is the serious show, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. That'd be slapstick number 12. Like,
the Three Stooges episode.
Boink, boink. Arr.
Oh yeah. We'll have pratfalls and everything next week. Don't worry, folks.
Chair legs fall out. Oh God, I can't.
I'll put bananas everywhere before they get here. Don't worry, we got you.
Now, you know where my mind went? Which one am I? He's like,
Which one are you?
I don't know. I was Mo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Mo. Just because of, I have a command respect.
Absolutely.
Now,
I'm old as shit.
when you were a little kid, were you like a big Three Stooges and Laurel and
Oh, yeah,
Hardy and Marx
I
Brothers
loved them.
fans?
Me too, even probably because of you.
Yeah.
But they weren't contemporary, right? Or were they?
Not
Was your childhood when they were doing fresh material?
No.
not really.
No.
No, it goes back to the 40s and 50s. I'd say 40s probably.
Some of them, like there was a little independent theater in Richmond called the Bird Theater.
Oh yeah.
And with the Biograph, but the Bird's a beautiful place too. With the Biograph down on Gray Street, and they would show like 2 or 3 Marx Brothers movies in a row. It's just you're laughing, but you're also just amazed at how talented those guys were, and it's how clever and how smart. It wasn't just slapstick. I mean, it was all that stuff was in it, but also the story was just like the upper level of story writing and stuff. It was just, it was crazy.
Let's see if I can remember it. I was reading Thoughts for the Day today, and Groucho Marx, one of my favorite people I've ever, just got a wonderful handle on things, but he said, a good cigar, a good meal, a good woman, happiness. Or a bad woman. It depends on how much happiness you can handle. There you go. Groucho, it's great.
Oh, God.
There was a classic moment on his little TV show where he had the questions, and he was the
Oh yeah, what was the
host.
show called?
Who do you, no, wasn't that.
Something like that.
Who do you trust now? Oh, what was it? But but there was a woman on there, and he interviews them beforehand, and she said she had 8 kids, and he's looking at her. He says, "Well, yeah, I guess so. I love my cigar, but I'll take it out every once in a while." Can't say that on television.
Oh,
I don't understand that. He was funny.
He was funny.
Like, I wonder how much of their movies were written and how much were just like, they get into
I
it.
think
just,
you go back to some of them were like choreographed. They were so elaborate. I mean, when you don't think it at the time, but if you look back, and I think they had to. I mean, but on the other hand, there's Harpo. Who's gonna?
Right.
Is he gonna listen to you? I don't think so. Harpo's gonna do Harpo.
So the Marx, were they? There's 3 of them too. The Marx brothers.
I think there's 4.
4 of them. What's up with that?
Well, you can do that. You can have 4 brothers.
I love that age of entertainment. I mean, the Three Stooges, the Marx Brothers. There was these
Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah, Laurel and Hardy. There were Amos and Andy. There was all these, just.
And they were
You
nothing.
wouldn't
There was nothing but humor there.
Right.
There was never. They were clowns in a sense that you really don't see. Everybody wants to be a character actor today.
There's that crossover between vaudeville and
That's
cameras
exactly-
in Hollywood and stuff. It's
That's
like
exactly what it was.
they invented a camera, and what are you going to point them at? But vaudeville people, they're the most entertaining, and that's such a silver gold era of entertainment or whatever, and
But like you were saying about the cigar remark, the way his brain worked, imagine how much he couldn't say. Imagine the million things that were going through his mind. He's just like, oh my God, if I could just say what I wanted to. I mean, he probably had to like just pound about it. He'd like go to bed and
That's
like
a
just
good
scream
point.
into the pillow.
That's probably an excellent point.
Yeah.
He was probably constantly frustrated.
He's, every
When I was saying, boy, he's getting away with more than anybody else,
yeah,
just because he's Groucho Marx.
and it's definitely what people loved about him.
Yeah, it was part of his
Little-
description.
It's a little bit of danger. There's a little bit of danger. Oh God, what's it gonna say?
what was the name of that show? What's Your Mark or something? What was it? Something like
Oh, You Bet Your Life.
You Bet Your Life.
That's from Kyle's New Jersey friend in the chat.
Hey, who?
Coming through. That's their name. Kyle's New Jersey friend.
Oh gosh, I wonder who that is.
They have an avatar.
I hope. Thank you, friend. Is it
Can you see
Laura?
him?
It's a dude. I don't know who it is. Gosh, my friend, identify yourself. You're my friend. You can take it out once in a while. Come on, show me who you are.
Avatar is Ernie Kovacs.
Wow.
That's probably Laura Pohl. Laura,
Who's Ernie Kovacs?
he's a New Jersey
He
comedian
was an
legend.
actor,
Yeah,
comedian actor.
How do you know him?
he was big time.
Ernie
back in the
Kovac
day.
was a famous person.
Oh, really? I've never heard that name in my life.
Really?
And plus, Laura would have known without looking it up what the name of the Marx Brothers show was.
Right. So tell me more about this Ernie Kovacs character.
Well, he had a mustache and dark eyebrows, and he did funny movies and stuff. I think he probably had one of the first TV shows.
Yeah. Laura's a big Ernie. I didn't know that was Ernie Kovacs, but she's a big Ernie Kovacs fan. Thanks for watching, Laura. I mentioned you on my Facebook post today.
Ah.
Sometimes I think Laura is like my second brain. Laura is like she's an archivist. She's been an archivist for a couple different places, but she's archivist for the Trenton Public Library now.
What does that mean? What does she archive?
She just collects like the history of Trenton and stuff.
Oh, wow.
But she's like she knows every thrift store and every little place to go. So she would just call me on a Saturday morning. We're gonna go thrift store shopping, and I would be like, oh, okay, whatever. I'll be at the end of the day. You're like, no, let's not stop. I'm having too much fun. She would just take it to these places never been before, and she would just, I don't know how.
What are you looking for? Records?
Just like anything, yeah, records, books. I mean, she would just find like these places you couldn't even believe. But so she still does this like once a month. She'll just send me like these books. I'm like, I've never mentioned these authors to her. Like, I'm interested in these books with the coolest. I have to open a box for her. I'm like, oh my God. It's like if I could take my brain and put it in somebody else's eyes and let them go look for me, I'll take this, and this, and then it just shows up in a box for me. I was like, oh my God, it blows my mind. And her birthday's next week,
Happy birthday.
the 24th, I believe.
I wonder if Stanton has an archivist.
I think they do.
Where would that repository be?
Well, they have the visitor center. That's some of that stuff down there.
The library.
It was when she came to visit a year or two ago. We went to the Stanton Visitor Center.
Where's that? The Woodrow Wilson place?
It's
or?
right underneath like the parking deck down there near.
It's still there.
Yeah.
And it has a little like Stanton Museum.
Yeah.
Really?
But she knew all this stuff about like the eugenics or whatever they were doing out there at the all that horrible stuff. And I'm like, how you know about that? She's like, you just learn. And then Woodrow Wilson didn't believe in women's rights and stuff. I was like, I always thought, Woodrow was a good guy. She's like, no, I'm like, damn. Get a history lesson on my own city from somebody that knows what's going on.
There's all kinds of shady stuff about Woodrow.
But it was
Wilson.
funny because they were talking about what is that? What's the old boys' prison out there out there by Walmart? What's that place called?
DeJarnets.
DeJarnets. Yeah, they were like the lady at the place was like, oh, we have DeJarnets, and I just knew DeJarnets. They put like bad kids in there when I was growing up, and Laura says, oh yeah, they did eugenics out there, whatever it's called, and I was like, hi, and the woman was like, oh, we don't really mention that, that's the Stanton's not real proud of that. We're not like talking about that.
Yeah, I knew about that. It's a whole thing, a whole sketchy thing.
Like the Nazis or Hitler or whatever were reading that guy's stuff, and like, oh gosh, no wonder Stanton's trying to roll that out of the past. Bring in Shakespeare to take over from the Nazis. We need something to cover up.
Much better. Much better. I'll bet they have an archivist at the Woodrow Wilson birthplace too. But we got a lot of people that are into Stanton history.
Yeah, Dwayne Knowles has a wonderful collection of of Stanton. I love all that stuff.
Yeah, that's,
show me an ashtray from the 20s with a Stanton business on it, and I'm in heaven. It's like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing.
he's got so much stuff there. That I agree. That's the kind of stuff you want to look through.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like
Yeah.
this is a private collection, or he has it somewhere.
It's a private collection,
in
but
his garage.
it feels like a museum. It's all laid out on
I
tables.
wonder what he's going to do with that.
That's a great question. That's a great question. How have you seen that?
I was just driving by one day and I saw him and stopped and said hi, and he showed it to me.
Oh yeah.
It was a spring day and he showed me his shit. It was pretty good stuff.
I almost bought you something at the at the antique mall a couple weeks ago.
The antique mall is still there.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that place.
But it was so cheaply made. I couldn't even believe it was like the thinnest plastic you can imagine. Like if you had somebody gave you like a plastic cup, it was even cheaper than that. Like if somebody just blew a balloon and sprayed some glue on it, it was about that fragile. But it said the Elbow Room, Stanton, Virginia.
Oh
on it.
wow.
And then when I picked it up, I was like, this thing's gonna, before they put it in the bag, it's gonna crush it. But I thought I was gonna give it the old Elbow Room.
What was it? An ashtray?
It was a cup, but it was like the cheapest. I can't even imagine a business would pay to have somebody make it. Like if you put a drink in it and just lifted it to your lips, it would just like collapse.
Wow.
It was so cheap.
Yeah, that's where I learned to drink beer.
The Elbow Room?
Yeah.
Was that ever by the old library?
The Elbow Room was up from Rask Forest.
Oh, above it? Or
No,
on the
up,
street?
up on the street, one door up.
That must have existed for part of my youth, maybe.
Oh
It
yeah,
was there for a long time. Yeah.
yeah. It was when we moved back here in my 20s, and we lived in Baldwin Acres. What's the weirdest thing? Steve Moore should not be living in Baldwin Acres. And I was teaching at VSDB, and I got into handball with Simon Knopp and Dick Nicely and a bunch of hard-ass men.
Oh, when the YMCA was downtown.
Yeah,
Right across the street
the
from that
YMCA
one,
was
yeah.
across the street. So I'd get my ass beat for an hour and a half. I'd be all dehydrated. I'd go over there, and they'd try to get me to drink beer. Well, in college, I couldn't drink beer. I got sick my freshman year after chugging 3 quarts of Old Milwaukee. And I didn't drink beer my whole way through college. I drank Richard's Wild Irish Rose,
Oh, wow.
much healthier. God.
So you still got drunk.
Oh yeah, I drank. That's where I started my long love affair with vodka, and wine. But I never. I mean, I was just drinking to get drunk. I wasn't drinking to appease any greater the wine gods.
Right.
But when I came back, I wouldn't drink a beer. And finally, one day, I was just so thirsty, they started tasting good.
You know what kind it was?
I tended to get Budweiser, and it's only I never bought Budweiser in the store, but at Marino's and at the Long Neck Buds, not the can, but I think they were probably Budweiser.
Cold beer after a hot sweat is there's something.
Yeah. I mean, I had really worked out, and I hadn't eaten. That was also key. I found
Right.
an empty stomach.
Oh, there's nothing like it.
It's funny you said that, 'cause when I got my first house, like when we were kids, my dad made us. He didn't make us. Well, he did make us, but not why he wasn't mean in a way. But we had to cut the grass. You know, that was just one of our things. But I hated cutting grass, man. We had a big yard, and I hated cutting grass. So when we bought our first house, we had apartments for like 20 years. And I came home and I said, man, I still hate cutting grass. I haven't cut grass for 20 years, still hate it. He goes, you want to know what makes it better? You're all hot and sweaty, go in there and get you a nice cold beer. Because then sit out there and just look what you done. There's nothing better than that. Drinking a cold beer, looking at that cut grass.
That's true.
Smelling that grass and sipping that beer.
You put me right there.
Yep.
You know where you just put me viscerally is the balcony overlooking those handball courts. I remember as a child getting up
Unbelievable.
there and that bird's eye view and you guys down there just
Those were just
giving it
they
your
were
all.
closets.
Yeah.
They were the smallest things. We'd have 4 grown big old rolling bird. We had big men in there, 4 of them.
I'm right about the balcony, right?
Yeah,
The thing I don't understand is like,
It was just a stand-up little thing. You could.
but isn't that,
sta-
aren't you missing some court by not having the wall there for the ball to bounce off of?
There was about 4 feet there, but in the handball, you never hit the ball that way. Because
It wouldn't work on racquetball, right?
Racquetball, you'd hit some more out, but handball, you didn't. Everything was lower and didn't ricochet as high.
That sport doesn't even exist anymore, really, does it?
Joe McHugh does. Joe McHugh.
As long as Joe McHugh.
Yeah, Joe keeps it alive at the Y. He probably has more people playing handball than racquetball because all the racquetball people have gone to pickleball.
Oh, wow.
It's been interesting.
That is interesting.
Have you ever, I've never played pickleball. Have you ever played?
Not well. I have. I know how it's played. If I was 10 years younger, I could be in my age group mediocre.
I could be not far from the bottom when I was 10 years younger.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I decide to be honest.
Yeah, I never really hear people talking about going out. I never hear young people talk about going and playing handball.
I would think that doesn't even exist anymore.
No, not very many people play it. And not many people play racquetball. It's surprising. But there are a lot of people playing pickleball. And pickleball, of course, they got the courts over at Montgomery Hall now. You can play outside.
Oh, yeah, we've done that.
And that adds to it.
I wonder what the Y's thinking about their racquetball courts. If it's like a waning trend, that's a lot of real estate. And
Yeah, I can see them doing something with them because it's like, I mean, if they make a pickleball courts out of them, they ought to be able to adapt it pretty easily.
is squash played on the same court?
Squash can be played on the handball court.
Did you ever play squash?
I played a little bit at UVA. Yeah,
Wait, UVA?
I was getting my PhD there.
What?
Yeah,
He's just making stuff up.
I am. What was I doing at it was UVA, and I did take some classes there.
You up there knocking back a couple of Budweisers, getting ready to play.
Squash was weird because it's 2 feet off the ground, so those pinch shots I'm famous for
Right.
didn't go on a squash court, but I picked it up pretty quick. I did the same thing on a squash as I did with racquetball.
No, what are these like handball and racquetball? I understand the names. Where does squash and what's pickleball? Where does that come from?
I don't know any idea about where squash comes from, but it's an older game. It's the oldest of all these games.
Oh, wow.
And it was played on college campuses by professors. So it was one of those things.
Right.
And it was always on like a racquetball court.
Yeah.
Like racquetball probably came from
They
squash.
they modified the squash court into a racquetball court. And then racquetball became the big deal, and everybody played it. But handball was always around. Handball evolved out of one wall, which is big city stuff, one wall or 2 wall, but you're just basically hitting it against the wall. If it gets by you, you lose.
Right.
But handball has a older history of more people,
Right.
more of a blue collar game than squash. And
No, I don't know.
I know very little
I don't know
about this history.
What kind of paddle or racket do you have for squash? I'm not even-
Squash it looks like a badminton racket, but it's heavier. It's got a long handle
With a little head on
and
it?
a little head, more like a badminton racket. So it was more of a hitting the ball type thing.
And what kind of ball was it? Like a hard rubber ball?
It was a smaller, harder ball, more like a handball. See, that's why I hated handball. It hurt my hand to just hit the ball.
Right, that's the whole thing.
And,
I can't believe the velocity you guys got out of your hands. You had to wear these gloves and everything, but I mean, they smack. I mean, I can
No,
hear the
you actually
the
catch
sound
the ball,
of
or
it.
you just like
No,
you just like cradle it in your hand, and throw it
I
back.
think most players just go ahead and hit it like that. Or, a lot of times you cup it and
Right, just
kind of
cradle it
catch it
and
and
go, yeah.
fling it. It's a combination of that too.
but you can't catch it.
No,
That would be
it's just all one movement. It hits,
Right.
rolls up, and then you fling it. And you never really hold on to it.
But the sound and the velocity, I can remember it. Just, I mean, it wasn't like dook dook. It was like.
And that's what happened. At the old Y downtown, they had these real small courts. They weren't regulation at all. And then when we went to regulation, that's when I can't play this. I couldn't hardly reach the ceiling. Yeah, when in the ceiling's regulation, I couldn't hit it that high. And so as soon as they gave me a racket, I said, goodbye, handball.
Right, right. I think we could maybe be a part of a squash renaissance.
We gotta get it started.
But
We should get archivists to find out the history of it. Then we'll be good to go.
pickleball looks interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked pickleball because my talent, if I had one, was hand-eye. I'm still catching my glasses when they fall off. I'll catch them about right here,
Right.
depending on which eye.
Now, is pickleball any bounce, or is it all just
Oh yeah,
paddle to
it
paddle?
bounces.
Oh, okay.
It's more like a wiffle ball,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't bounce as hard, so that's why you can keep it going longer.
Oh, okay.
It kind of bing, bing, bing.
With like wooden paddles.
Yeah,
No,
And-
no net or anything on it.
well, and there's
I mean, the net, it's like tennis, the court, but
Yeah, I
the,
see them
the
playing
paddle
down,
doesn't have.
playing down in the park sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
The paddle's like a wooden thing, not
And,
mesh.
and you have to hit up on the ball most of the time, which keeps you from hitting it as hard.
Right.
So it's a gentler game,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why a lot of
I could definitely see you in your heyday just putting that ball right where the person couldn't get it every time.
But it's played pretty
Frustrating.
close to the net, though, isn't it?
It's a small court.
Yeah.
you play close to the net. Mostly you just stand up there and pink, pink,
Right.
pink, pink. Yeah, I would have been good at it.
Now, when did pickleball come about?
That's
Just the
right
last,
now.
but the last couple of years.
Yeah, I didn't even hear about it till like a couple.
And back to your question, I have no idea where they got that pickle. I'm sure there's a story.
It probably has something to do with squash.
Laura, can you look up pickleball
the-
for us and
it's
send
the-
it in, please?
It's the vegetables.
That's right.
The loser had to eat a pickle. I mean, something like that. That's the way it'll go.
There's got to be a story there. There's got to be. Call it pickleball? There's a story. Well, maybe next week we'll have the answer to that and many of these questions that we've come up with here tonight.
No, was pickleball invented for older people?
I don't think so.
So it's not like a slowed down version of tennis or anything?
Well, I watched them playing pickleball on TV the other day in championships.
Oh,
and
wow.
They were young people, and they were playing very hard. So I don't think it's just for old people.
Right.
It is marketed like that a little bit.
When I used to walk the
Just 'cause
dogs in the
court's
park,
so
it-
small,
yeah.
you can
I mean,
Stay
cover the
active.
court.
Yeah.
it's one of the only ones you can play in a wheelchair.
Oh my God! Here you go. Kyle's New Jersey friend. In the summer of... Oh, I missed it. I was reading. What did I miss?
He says that's all I gave he could play in a wheelchair.
Well, apparently, in the summer of 1965, pickleball was founded by Joel Pritchard, Bill Bell, and Barney McCallum on Banbridge Island, Washington. Within days, Joan Pritchard had come up with the name pickleball, a reference to the thrown-together leftover non-starters in the pickle boat of crew races. I don't know what that means.
What in the world?
In sailing, apparently, the pickle boat is the last boat to finish in a race. The term is said to have come from a practice of the fishing fleets when the last boat of a flotilla to return to port was the boat that stayed at sea while the crew pickled the catch with brine. From that came the pickle boat in competitive rowing.
Wow.
So pickle boat was the last boat.
The last.
It wasn't a good thing.
It wasn't a good thing.
So I don't.
The last boat of a flotilla to return to the port was the boat that stayed at sea. Why do they have to stay at sea? While the crew pickled the catch with brine.
I guess the brine was from the sea, so they had to stay out there and pickle everything. While everybody else went in and got a long.
Everybody else got to go in and get fresh.
That's right, with a
whatever,
bad woman.
but they had to stay out there and make pickles.
Something.
We're gonna go in and get a long neck Budweiser and find a bad woman while y'all are out here pickling the fish.
Well, guys, we did it.
Is it over?
Yeah, we've.
Umbrella. Thank you, Laura, for all your help.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yes, thank you, everybody, for
Takes a village.
checking it out.
That's the end of episode 11. Tune in next time for episode 12 when we will return to our slapstick roots and the.
I'll be wearing a drawn-on mustache.
We're bringing back the comedy stylings that got us into this position in the first place.
Or, depending on the ratings, we might be more depressing than next week.
Hey, we could do that.
The lower we go, the higher the ratings go. That's it.
Don't think we can't roll like that.
I'm gonna saw my hand off tonight. We're skyrocketing. There's 25 viewers.
I can't believe. I mean, we didn't talk about the UFOs or anything.
I know.
We didn't
The
do one
balloons,
conspiracy
I know.
theory.
Yeah, remarkable restraint on my behalf, I'd say.
Oh, we did talk. What was the conspiracy theory? We talked something early in the show.
Jesus.
No, Shakespeare, right?
Oh,
now
Shakespeare, right.
Close.
We were debating if Jesus wrote the Shakespeare plays, and we said
If
Or Shakespeare
wrote,
wrote the Bible.
yeah, if he wrote all four of the apostles, I knew he did Matthew and Mark,
Right.
but Luke and John, I had doubts.
Love the Beatles. Well, again, thank you all so much for tuning in. Join follow me on the Twitch channel, Nathan's Land on Twitch. That's my new big deal here from Nathan's Land, the new stream channel. And see you all very soon. Thank you both very much for doing this.
have faith in something and do good.
That's exactly right.
Very good. And find yourself a bad woman.
If you want to have a good time.
I need a cigar.
Oh, I like that show.
I started to bring my pipe tonight.
You sure can do that.
Can I do that?
Absolutely.
I'll introduce Steve, the pipe smoker, next week. Oh, well, that worked